She walked into the classroom like a shadow, silent, unnoticed. No one looked up from their hollow displays or whispered conversations. She didn't introduce herself, didn't ask where to sit, just picked an empty desk at the back and sat down. Her name was never said aloud in class. Not once. Teachers called roll, paused on her name, and moved on when she didn't respond. Other students glanced at her occasionally, curious maybe, but never long enough to wonder why she never spoke. Her uniform fit loosely, her hair tied back in a way that kept it out of her face but didn't care to look neat. Her boots were scuffed, her skin lined with faint scars no one asked about. Lessons began. Physics, xenobiology, galactic history. She never raised her hand, never took notes, just watched, listened, said nothing. When group work came around, no one picked her. When someone had to present, they avoided looking at her. She didn't argue, didn't complain, just stood off to the side while others talked over her. Sometimes someone would try to talk to her. "Hey," they'd say, "where are you from again?" She wouldn't answer, not because she couldn't, just didn't. Eventually, people stopped trying. Some thought she was broken. Others thought she was arrogant. A few joked she was mute. The academy had students from all across the known systems, telepaths, vocal cordless amphibians, even AI constructs and humanoid shells, but she was just human. And humans weren't impressive. Not here. They whispered about Earth sometimes, about how primitive it was, how dangerous. They called it a death world, but only as a joke. Like calling a garden slug ferocious. Sure, Earth had predators and weather and disease, but so did half the galaxy. What made it special? Nothing, they decided. She wasn't special. Not until the day everything changed. But until then, she remained silent. In class, in the halls, in the mess hall, always watching, always listening, never speaking. Once, a student knocked her tray out of her hands during lunch. Food spilled across the floor. The boy smirked, muttered something about clumsy Earth girls, and walked away. She stared at him for a long time. Then she bent down, picked up her tray without a word, wiped it clean, and left. No anger, no tears, no reaction at all. It was easy to forget she was even there, even easier to underestimate her. And no one, not the teachers, not the students, not even the academy records, knew what she had survived before arriving here. What kind of world could shape someone so quiet, so still? Because silence didn't mean weakness. It just meant she was waiting for what no one knew. But when the time came, she would speak. And when she did, the galaxy would listen. The attack came without warning. One moment, the academy was in session, lectures droning, students half listening. And the next, alarms screamed through the halls. Lights flickered red. Emergency protocols blared from unseen speakers. Somewhere outside, explosions cracked like thunder across steel skies. Chaos erupted. Students scrambled for cover or ran blindly toward exits. Teachers shouted over the noise, useless commands lost in the panic. Security drones activated, scanning for threats, but they were too late. The invaders had already breached the outer perimeter. They came in black armor, sleek and alien, moving with terrifying precision. Their weapons pulsed with energy, cutting through walls, doors, bodies. They didn't negotiate, didn't hesitate. They killed indiscriminately, striking down anyone who moved too fast or not fast enough. Hostages were taken. Faculty lined up against walls, hands on their heads. Students forced to their knees, trembling under the weight of unfamiliar fear. A towering warlord stepped forward, voice booming through a translator embedded in his helmet. "Surrender," he said, "or die." No one resisted. No one except her. She stood at the back of the room, still as stone, watching everything unfold. Not frozen in fear. Watching, calculating. Her eyes tracked movement, studied formations, noted weaknesses. She saw how the soldiers positioned themselves, how they handled prisoners, how they responded to small disruptions. Every detail mattered. While others cried, she remembered. She remembered waking up to sirens on Earth. Remembered smoke curling into the sky from burning cities. remembered running through forests thick with fog and gunfire. She had lived through worse than this, and now she wasn't going to run. She slipped away unnoticed, melting into the shadows while the aliens focused on the terrified crowd. Her footsteps made no sound. Her breath was steady. She moved like someone who had spent her life surviving places where silence meant survival. In the corridors, she found more soldiers patrolling. They moved in pairs, disciplined, confident. Overconfident. She watched them long enough to memorize their patterns. Then she struck. A hand clamped over a mouth. A blade, small, hidden, slid between ribs. One down. Another turned, confused, then felt the sharp crack of a precise strike to the throat. He fell without a sound. She took his weapon, not because she needed it, because it would help. Back in the main hall, the invaders continued their display of dominance. No one had noticed the missing patrol. No one suspected that one of the silent humans had just become something else entirely. She didn't look afraid. She didn't look angry. She looked ready. The war had come to her. Now she would bring it back. She moved like a ghost through the academy's corridors, silent and unseen. The invaders thought they had control. Hostages secured, exits blocked, weapons primed. But they had no idea what was coming. She didn't charge in, didn't scream a battle cry or make demands. She simply acted. The first to die were the scouts. 2 of them, stationed at an access junction, barely had time to turn before her blade found their throats. No energy weapons, not yet, too loud, too flashy. She used what worked. Steel, precision, and silence. She stripped one of his comms unit and slipped it into her ear. Static, then voices. No resistance detected. All humans accounted for. Good. Keep the prisoners contained. We move to Phase 2 in 10. She exhaled slowly. Phase 2. More killing, probably. More control. She wouldn't let it happen. She reached a ventilation shaft, pried it open with minimal effort, and climbed inside. Her muscles burned from hours of tension, but she ignored it. Pain was normal. Pain meant she was still alive. From the ducts, she dropped into a storage bay filled with confiscated tech, student drones, training weapons, even a few maintenance bots. She scavenged what she could. A pulse grenade, a portable power cell, and a hacked drone with basic AI. She rewired the drone in under a minute, repurposing its sensors and giving it a simple command. Locate enemy heat signatures and mark them. It whirred to life and vanished into the shadows. Meanwhile, she planted the grenade near a coolant line servicing the alien command post. A small explosion, but enough to cut power to half the building. Lights flickered. Alarms flared. Confusion spread. Then came the executions. Not of hostages, of invaders. One by one, soldiers began disappearing. Some went silent mid-transmission. Others were found dead in isolated hallways, throats slit or skulls crushed. A sniper took out a sentry from across the courtyard, impossible shot, unless you knew how to account for wind resistance and thermal distortion. Panic set in. Something's in the vents. She's in the walls. No, it's just a glitch. A second explosion tore through a communications relay. Then another. Enemy forces scrambled to regroup, but every attempt ended in disaster. Their tech failed. Their patrols vanished. Their commander barked orders, but no one could say where the threat was coming from, because it was everywhere, and it was fast. She struck hardest where they felt safest. In the command center, she disabled the locks, trapping the officers inside before flooding the room with gas stolen from a nearby lab. They choked, clawing at sealed doors that wouldn't open. In the mess hall, she rerouted a power conduit into a live wire trap. 3 soldiers walked in. Only one walked out, burned, screaming, missing an arm. They called it sabotage, then witchcraft, then something worse. By the time they realized it was just one girl, it was too late. She found the general in the central atrium, surrounded by elite guards, barking orders as his empire crumbled around him. He looked furious, terrified. She stepped into view. Alarms screamed, weapons raised. She smiled. Then she pulled the trigger on the detonator in her hand. The entire floor shuddered as buried charges erupted beneath them. Support beams snapped. Walls collapsed. The atrium became a tomb. When the dust settled, only one figure stood among the wreckage. Her, bruised, bleeding, but standing. She looked down at the general, barely alive, staring up at her with disbelief. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she spoke. "You shouldn't have come here." The academy was silent again. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of control, the silence of awe. Survivors emerged from hiding, stepping cautiously through the wreckage. Smoke curled from shattered walls. Bodies, alien and human, lay scattered across the halls. The invaders were gone, or dead, or too broken to fight. No one knew exactly what had happened, only that she had done it alone. Security footage spread like wildfire. Snippets of her movements, silent, precise, relentless. One girl, armed with nothing but stolen weapons, scavenged tech, and a mind trained for war. She hadn't screamed, hadn't begged, hadn't run. She had fought, and she had won. News left the academy fast. Across the system, then the sector, then the entire known galaxy. Governments scrambled to verify reports. Military analysts pored over every frame of video, trying to understand how a single human had dismantled an elite alien force. Some called it luck, others exaggeration. But those who had seen the bodies, the damage, the tactical brilliance, it wasn't luck. It was something else. It was skill. It was will. It was Earth. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. A primitive species from a violent backwater world. Weak by galactic standards. No psionic abilities. No cybernetic enhancements. No empire. Just stubbornness and survival instinct. But now they had a legend. At the academy, students whispered her name like it carried weight. Some avoided her entirely. Others watched her from a distance, unsure whether to admire or fear her. Teachers didn't call roll anymore. They just looked to the back of the room and nodded, as if afraid to draw attention. She never acknowledged them. She never spoke unless she had to. Days passed, then weeks. Life at the academy resumed, but everything had changed. The invasion had exposed weaknesses in security, in assumptions, in the way the galaxy viewed humanity. And she had become something more than a student. A symbol. Rumors followed her like ghosts, that she had been trained from birth. That Earth wasn't just dangerous, it was a forge. That every human who survived childhood was hardened by forces no other species could comprehend. Some governments began reconsidering their stance on Earth. No longer just a source of cheap labor or curiosity. Maybe not even a planet to be absorbed into the galactic fold. Maybe a threat. Maybe an ally. Back in class, she sat at her usual desk. Same seat. Same silence. Like nothing had changed. Someone tried to talk to her once. A new transfer, unaware of the stories. "Hey," he said. "You're that girl, right? The one who killed all those aliens." She looked up, just once. Her eyes held no malice, no pride, just quiet certainty. Then she turned back to her screen. Didn't answer. Didn't need to. Because some legends don't need words. They just need to exist. And somewhere, deep in the dark corners of the galaxy, someone read the reports and whispered to themselves, "Humans, huh?" Then they double-checked their travel routes and made sure they never went near Earth.